seems, and for those listening, women are told to be this by a certain age. Men are told to be this by a certain age. The cutoff point seems to be, for whatever reason, right? 30, for argument's sake, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to make sure that if you're a woman, you have to make sure that you do this, this, this. Hopefully, you're married and have at least one kid,
Right.
right?
Right.
As a man, you graduate, make sure you have a job, this, because by your 30, you have to provide,
That's
right?
right. That's a lot of
So
pressure.
that's a lot of pressure on both. So it seems like the age 30 is the cutoff. And my question to you, because I've had this question a number of times, because I'm not married, I haven't been married, I haven't been divorced, I don't have any children. I'm in my mid 30s. So I'm looking at it as if I want to have kids, I still can because biologically men and women are different in that fashion. But I still have to be able to make it work with a partner as I participate in a heterosexual relationship and whatever type of relationship you go into. Why is it that it seems that this pressure is coming from society where, in a way, the people make up that society?
I think it's just generational and it's cultural. It comes from different sources, and I think it just reproduces itself. It just perpetuates itself, and it depends in your particular culture and group. We all have our own set of rules. I would say that, for instance, I'm in the United States, and we have this mindset that, you graduate high school and then you go to college, you work for a certain number of years. By a certain age, you have to get married, have your 2.3 kids. I don't know if that's the average these days. And then you retire and you wait to be happy until you retire, and then you die. And that is a formula that is inflicted on us, but it doesn't necessarily suit us. Everybody has a different schedule, but we feel in some way restricted by what society tells us we are supposed to do. And if we belong to a certain group, you're expected to um, go to a certain school, pursue a certain profession. If our parents own a business, you're expected to continue with a family business or profession. Marry somebody at a certain age because you don't want to be a spinster or a confirmed bachelor. And then we are just living by those norms, and they're restricting because we may have a different schedule, a different way of experiencing and processing life.
Yeah, and I would continue on that and say that that's what's led me to my experience because growing up around me, I was around, I didn't have the positive examples of marriage. I grew up with my mom and dad, and then the people that I grew up with in my neighborhood, either single parent household, either as a single mother, single father. So outside of TV, there wasn't really a place where I can go and say, okay, this is a positive example until I reach my teens and early adulthood, let's say, 18, 19, and once you enter 20. And I look at when you mention experiences, for me, that is true because in my mid 30s, I've been asked a question, what's wrong with you? How come you don't have this? How come you don't have that? And I turn around and tell them, well, there isn't anything wrong with me. You're looking around now to make sure, what, are you physically okay? But I'm like, no, I'm fine. This is the way I'm living my life. This is the way it makes me happy. And I always found to some people, it seems difficult for them to understand happiness without the institution of marriage and children. Is that something that you have experienced?
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And in my case, I grew up in Puerto Rico in a very conservative culture. And we were expected as little girls to get married relatively young and stay married. I grew up Catholic, and the Catholic Church is very strict when it comes to marriage. And so you're expected to stay married regardless of what happens. And we would see the example of some of our moms who had tolerated very difficult marriages and relationships that were actually harmful. because you're supposed to stay married. And the other myth is you have to stay together because of the children too, because children need both parents, and so on. We have all these different myths regarding relationships, and they really interfere with our ability to have healthy relationships. And if you, as you say, you're in your mid 30s and you're happy with your life, happiness is what you decide it is. It's not something that somebody else has the right to define for you. But I think many people simply accept what has been passed along because this is the way it has been. That's the way their parents taught them, and their parents' taught them to be the same way. So we are really living lives that are not authentic because we're living lives that have been chosen for us by others. So I agree with you. You should be deciding how you live your life, how you define your own version of happiness, and live large.